And so it is, dear Shambhala, that we gather together again with a group of human angels who dare to change the energy of earth, the energy of the universe, and the energy of the cosmos, who dare to come into this lifetime under very, very difficult human circumstances, who dare to endure some of the biggest challenges they have ever had in any lifetime, who dare to come in to change something on behalf of all that is, to move into the new energy. It is an honor for I, Tobias, to be here with you. Imagine what it is like for all of us in the Crimson Council, all of the guests and visitors today from the angelic realms, to come in and gather up all of your energies, the thousands and thousands of you who today, in this now moment, joined together, joined at the heart, joined at the soul and the spirit. You give permission to be here and permission for us to gather your energy, bring it together into this shroud. You give permission to have your energy put into this thing called the shroud that will then be available for so many others who come along. So many others who will read this and listen to this a month from now, a year from now, perhaps 10, perhaps 50 and 100 years from now, reading the information that you bring forth in the shroud, that you allow I, Tobias, and all the rest of us to help meld together. It is such an honor to be here, to sit with you. And you probably notice that each time we visit with you, when we gather with Shambhala, that we can come in a bit closer and a bit closer. Indeed, we can come in and we can feel the warmth of your fire today here in this hall. We can come in so close now for all of you who are listening. And we can actually begin to hear your breath. Not just feel it, not just know it's there, but we can begin to feel the breathing of the human. We can begin to feel your heart. We can come in that much closer. 4 years ago, this was not possible. You are opening new doors. You are opening the pathways so that spirit can come to you, so that all the angels can come to you in a whole new way. You know, dear friends, we have talked about this thing where we say it will come to you in your life. Be in the now moment. Breathe in life. Allow yourself to feel. And the dynamics change in this new energy. It comes to you. Everything that you need in your reality comes to you. You're beginning to experience this. We hear those ahas on our side of the veil when you get it. When you realize that you don't need to have all this chaotic energy. You don't need to be out in search of anything. That it comes to you. The right people, the right resources, all of the energies, all of the angels, it comes to you. You're beginning to understand this tremendous paradigm shift. Oh, this is one that will take a while. That is why we keep repeating it over and over. It is so important. It comes to you. Then it is your responsibility to dance with it, to have action with it, to interact with the people, the events, the opportunities, if you choose act with these things, but it comes to you. Some of you have realized even the hidden meanings in this. You're beginning to get those true ahas. We say, it comes to you. What we have really been saying energetically underneath this is about the whole message of your journey, the whole reason why you are here on earth, why you left the order of the ark and came to earth. It comes to you, dear friends. Home comes to you. You don't go home, as we said so very long ago. You don't go home from here. You don't die and go back into this eternal oneness. Instead, home comes to you. It's the fulfillment of the journey. Home comes to you. It comes to you. Everything that you could possibly need or want or desire or create comes to you. And along with it comes home. Comes the new relationship with Spirit. The energy of the King and the Queen. You do exist outside of all that is right now. Believe it or not, Cauldre still tries to figure this one out. Even when we say, stop trying to figure it out. Sitting here in this moment, you exist outside of all that is. Phenomenal, isn't it? How could that be? Feel it. Feel what you've created. Oh, you have created something. You are something, but you exist outside of the realms of home, of what you would traditionally call heaven. When you allow it to come to you, heaven comes to you, home comes to you. Home expands. The kingdom, as grand as it is, was limited because of itself. God, the oneness, was limited. Spirit could not know all these things about creation and about expansion and about true fulfillment and true understanding of self when Spirit contemplated the question, who am I? Spirit then appeared in two forms, the King and the Queen, the male and the female, produced you in a sense. We speak metaphorically here, not literally. The love between the King and the Queen produced you, and you left home. You had to go outside of the realms of home, crossing through the wall of fire, to go outside of all that is. You've been on a long journey ever since. But now home comes to you. You have made it possible for the oneness of home and the love of the King and the Queen to expand. And it expands to all of the dimensions across all the journeys and experiences you have ever had. It is like a light force venturing out past the walls, past the confines of the wall of fire. It's an amazing light, an amazing awareness that then travels across the eons of experiences that you have had to meld with you in the moment. Home comes to you. Everything you need comes to you. That is why you are here now. That is why we are here, assuring you of your journey. We will talk more about your journey at the end of our discussion today. But let us plant an energy here right now with Shambhala on this magnificent day with this magnificent group of human angels. The journey ends now. It ends. You have spoken in channels and shouts about your long, long journey, like you were still on that journey, like you still had miles and miles of lifetimes ahead of you, more experiences. Let the journey end now. Plant that energy here, your energy here, as we continue with the discussion on this day. Dear Shambhala, we have such a wonderful guest today. Most of you have been feeling the energy of our very potent guest, very energized guest. Normally this guest does not enter into this first circle so closely. The energy of this dear one stays in the background because he has a tendency to, bring up things within you. He is one who has been with you on your former journey. He has taken on different roles. He has taken on different, personas, sometimes human, sometimes animal. He laughs when we say that. Yes, he is a bit of an animal. He stays in the background so often because his energy, which is really part of your energy, it is archetypical part of you, his energy tends to bring things up. But he comes in today because things are coming up. And you have felt these. You keep asking, dear Spirit, when is all of this going to slow down a bit? When am I going to stop going through so much? Dear friends, it will continue. It will continue to be intense over these next few years. That is why we are constantly asking you to please gather with Shambhala. Yes, be here for these gatherings once a month, but gather with Shambhala. Gather in your living rooms, in your kitchens. Gather at restaurants. Gather at workshops. Gather anywhere. We can see it from this side, how the dynamics work. When you join together without agenda, you actually help to reinforce each other. You give each other strength and courage to continue on your journey. But back to our guest. This dear guest comes in today because there is so much going on right now, and there are issues that will be appearing here very shortly that will bring up, some of the most difficult challenges for you. It will be a point of decision. It is a point of separation like you haven't seen in a long time. So we ask you to welcome in the Archangel of Fear, Raphael. What a title, Raphael, you have. But as you know, fear provides such a motivator. Fear helps you to get through some of the challenges and the changes that you are going through. Raphael helps you, dear Shambhala, to transmute fear. When you feel difficulties, strong and strange energies around you, when you know intuitively that there is a challenge for you that has come into your reality and you're trying to deny it, you're trying to pretend it's not there, and the fear comes up, Raphael is right there with that fear. Oh, he is not the one creating it. You are. But he is there as a potential energy for you to use to transmute fear into wisdom, into awareness, into moving into a whole new energy. So often you associate the energy of Raphael with that of creating fear, because where there is fear, there is Raphael. So when you feel his energy, sometimes you think, oh dear God, what comes next? That is why he remains in the background so often. But dear friends, you've been feeling some of this lately. You know something is going to happen, isn't it? You know it is right there, right now in your life. So Raphael comes in today for all of us, for all of you, to help transmute that, to help give it new understanding, know why you are at this spot at this time. Breathe in the energy of Raphael. Breathe in the energy that transmutes fear. Bring in that part of yourself, that gift that you gave yourself, that allows you to have strength and courage and wisdom during the difficult times. It's interesting, we listened to some of your discussions about the archangels. Archangels are not humans, indeed. Archangels do not have souls of God like what you have. They have a type of persona or a character about them, but they are truly archetypical energies. Metatron is the part of you as your voice and spirit. Metatron is that part that is so sharp and so intense. And yes, sometimes it is easier to think of him as a he, as a personality, as an entity. It is all you. Raphael is an archetypical energy that manifests with you at the time of fear. Raphael, Rapha, energy, has been such an important part of the Crimson Council and the Crimson Circle. Indeed, his energies show up in the very story of Tobit, or Tobias as you would know it. It is a story of a journey, and it is a story of fear. So, energies of Raphael are here now, already working with you on transmuting. Raphael is you. This energy comes from the order of the Ark. It was built into a whole elaborate code, indeed, that could be utilized by you when you came to Earth, when you were going through all of your experiences, when this thing called fear or darkness came upon you. Rapha, energy, is about transmuting. We chuckle here because the Elder asked us to explain a bit more. This order of the Ark, dear friends, the archangels, all archetypical energies. How to say, if you want to look at it in a way, it is like an elaborate code. Allow yourself to feel it here. You could say there are pillars that represent each archangel or archetypical code. And these pillars create, how to say, somewhat of a gateway. The gateway, the energies that make up the order of the Ark are an elaborate series of energetic codes that you helped write. You helped to write them because you knew you would need certain energies when you came to Earth. But you also knew that you would need to keep other energies out from interfering with the work you are doing. The code, the order of the Ark, keeps out all of the outside influences so that you could go to Earth, you could have your journey without interference from the outside. This keeps out those little men in flying saucers that you talk about. This keeps out huge, tremendous forces that are out in the cosmos, that are out in the omniverse, at the multidimensional levels. It is an invisible gateway, a code that you helped to write. It's never been broken. It can never be broken because the key holders are here, right here. There are no key holders at the gate of the order of the Ark. An elaborate code for all of you. Caldro asked us especially to explain that now, even though that was not part of our discussion on this day. So many of you have been going through anger issues since our last gathering, haven't you? You do a funny thing with anger. We know. You do a funny thing with anger, dear friends. You try to deny it and you try to suppress it. When you do let it out of the bottle, then you feel guilty about it and you splatter yourself all over, apologizing for being angry. Dear friends, anger is a natural reaction. It's a natural emotion to things taking place around you. You can't ever suppress it. It will come out somewhere. If it doesn't come out in that harsh word that you speak to your spouse, Caldra, if it doesn't come out there, it will come out when you are driving and you'll have a little accident. If it doesn't come out there, it will manifest itself in your physical body. And it will come out as irritations, rashes, or potential cancers, or other great imbalances or dis-eases within your body. Anger is natural, and it is happening right now. And it's best not to deny it. There are ways to handle it, but it's best not to deny it. So why are you angry right now? Because so many of you feel like you're trapped in the bottle. You're trapped in the bottle. You can see at times through the bottle. It's hazy though. You can't see it clearly enough. When you try to break through, it's almost like a rubber membrane. It simply expands as you try to break through, and then what happens? It throws you back with great force, back into the bottle. What is happening right now is that you are truly beginning to feel spirit. You're truly beginning to feel the veil lighten. You're truly beginning to feel duality fading away. Some knowingnesses are coming to you, understandings, enlightenments are coming to you on some days. But then, the next day, you feel you've gone back to your old space, maybe even worse. There's anger issues at the deep part of you, at your spirit part, that are angry. Why did the veil have to exist in the first place? Why did you cut yourself off from everything else, including all of the angelic forces that are supporting you? Even when you come to our side of the veil, there is still a veil for you, because you're going through cycles of human experiences. You still carry that some of that with you when you come to our side. Oh, it is not like you get here and everything is understandable, and that causes you more frustration. And that frustration causes you to say, damn it, I'm going to go back to earth and figure it out. You see the cycle that you are running in. As you are coming into your own divinity and the new energy, dear friends, you wonder why this had to be. Why did you have to take on a human body to understand who you were? Why did you have to take on a specific sex, male or female? Why did you shut yourself off from knowingness, understanding? Why didn't you slip that little key into your pocket when you came to earth, the key to all understanding, the key to your journey, why you are here? Why didn't God make it simple for you and just write it out and put it in a book? Why doesn't the veil go away quicker? Why is duality still all around you? Why do aspects of your past life still come in? And this is causing anger. Anger at yourself, anger at spirit. This anger is helping to generate something. Generate an energy that can move you forward. You are asking the appropriate questions right now. Why? Why did all of this have to exist? Why did you ever volunteer at the order of the ark to come here to earth, to subject yourself to all of this? It wouldn't have been so bad if there was all of this and understanding. Why did you have to do all this? Why did the angels, the archangels, the rest of us here on this side let you do this? We remember some of you said, when I come back here next lifetime, don't let me go back to earth no matter what I say. Stop me. I'm compulsive. I know I'm going to want to go back. Say no. Lock me away. We nod our heads, smile a bit, wait for you to come back, get the next boat ready for you to go back to earth. There's no stopping Shambhala. There's no stopping you from your journey. So how do you handle this anger right now? This wanting to get out of the bottle. This wanting, the knowingness to come back to you. It is there, and you know it. How do you get it back to you? How do you meld the divine? How do you open up yourself so that spirit can come in? Dear friends, it is about breathing. It is that simple. It is about understanding the process that you are going through. The incredible journey that is taking you up to this point. It is about more than anything else saying that now is the time for you to be divine and in the new energy. That you don't need these other things around you anymore. You place them there. You place these things of non-understanding. You place the veil and duality all around you. You built the bottle that you're living in right now. You're the only one that can take it down. We can't. We can encourage you and we can love you. We can tell you what the symptoms are and we can tell you what the solution is. You have to do it. You don't do that by beating yourself up. You don't do that by making yourself suffer. You're simply doing that by taking that deep breath and saying that you are now ready. What happens when you say you are ready, though? For all those weavings of the bottle that you live in to come apart, what happens? Fear comes in. Fear comes in. You race through your mind. You have all these thoughts. What if I do take down all of those realities that I built up around me? Take down the wall of duality. What if I take down all of these other manifestations of reality I put all around myself? Fear comes in. If I take those down, perhaps something can get in to take me over, to influence me, to have me go to work against my will for the dark side. What if I take these down and find out that I never existed in the first place? Perhaps it was better to live inside the bottle of this illusion that I was here. What if I let go? What if I let all of this framework around me, what if I let go of that and find out that none of this was real? What if I let go and find out that indeed I should have listened to those who said there is only one salvation through Jesus Christ, and it involves a lot of suffering and a lot of studying? What if they were right? What if I missed it? And what if I get left behind? All of these influences, dear friends. So you're at this point of anger about why you created it, or, better put, why you think it was created for you. Duality, not knowing, not connecting, all of these things. Can you be so daring, so bold, as to release the grip that you have on this container of reality that you live within, let it go. Let it totally go, not some of it. It's, I'll just say, so interwoven that you can't just chip through and make a door or a window to see outside, to see if you're really willing to let go. It requires total faith and trust in yourself and the God within you. The anger issues that you have are also causing depression and sadness. Partly because you're sad and depressed, that you can't seem to break through. You can't seem to move beyond. You want that knowingness so bad, and it is right there, yet you can't get your hand on it. It is like the carrot in front of the horse. And at one point, the horse gets tired of that game, gets depressed, gets sad. But there's another component. That component is letting go of something that you thought you were. Again, going through a death in order to have a rebirth, but now you know something different that you didn't know a few years ago. When you let go, totally, when you let go, allow that old aspect of yourself to die. When you allow the rebirth to take place within you, yes, then the old comes back to you in a whole new way. But without the pain, without the difficulties and the challenges, without the nightmarish aspects, the old comes back to you with the wisdom and the understanding and new energy. The future is the past healed. So, you live in interesting times. And we'll continue to try to help you to understand what you are going through. What you're going through here on earth right now is very, very interesting, and it ties into your anger. In the last week, you have seen some of the grandest bursts of solar energy ever recorded, ever known even on our side of the veil. Solar flares, grand eruptions from the sun. And you think your anger doesn't have power behind it? What is happening is, through the consciousness of you and the consciousness of humanity, you're releasing so much old energy that it literally is being reflected in the energy of the sun. Grand solar bursts that come rocketing to Earth. You've been bombarded with these over the last couple days, and you wonder, dear friends, why your body feels funny, why your mind is out of balance, why you're feeling a flurry of emotions. Emotions occur when you let go of things. Emotions occur when you allow the anger within you to manifest in such a way. Grand energies coming from the sun, but you created them. You are releasing things that are stored. We've talked about energies being stored in Gaia, in the earth, and indeed they are. You are releasing them, aspects of yourself from the past. There are also energies stored in all of the planets, in the suns, in the stars, in the galaxies. And they are yours. They are your energies. Why do you think that certain planets have astrological qualities to them, influences? Part of your energies are stored there. So what happens is you have these tremendous bursts and eruptions in the sun, releases and expressions of your anger, saying it is time now for home to come to me. A phenomenal amount of energy moves from the sun and goes right to the earth. You've been experiencing that the last few days, and it manifests exactly where it should. Fires, dear friends, the ones Metatron talked about. Fires. Haven't you seen them in this last week? Haven't you seen them even in this area of these mountains, but especially in the areas of Southern California, even other places of the world? So much energy and attention has been focused on the ones in this place called California. Clearing energies, releasing energies that were there. Indeed, thousands lost their homes. A small number lost their lives. Nothing in comparison to what could have happened several years ago. Catastrophic earthquakes that would have taken out that whole region. Millions and millions would have lost their lives. They would have returned to our side of the veil. And yes, we were ready to handle it. Instead, some fires that allow clearing in a land that has been so, intensely focused, so much a part of the whole new energy movement. A few fires that can be put out so the land and Gaia can be cleared so that we can all move on. It all works together. Your anger, the solar flares, the fires here on Earth. Sometimes, Shambhara, you try to make things so difficult. When you stand behind the short wall for a moment and make it very simple, you'll see what you are truly creating. You'll see how this all works together. These fires also come to a land that has experienced much change recently, this area of California. So ready for release, so ready to move into a new energy, clear the past, that they remove a politician. Interesting how this is done. So much of the blame being put on this gray. Keep it simple, Shambhara. The answers are there. Sometimes they're contained in the name itself. They're tired of the old energies. They remove the one they elected. They forget to take responsibility and understand. They like to point fingers at the neighbors and say, you elected the gray, not I. But they all did in a sense, even the ones that didn't vote for him. They replace it with what? A star. They replace it with a very, very strong male energy. We'll give you an interesting, background about this. And we have already checked and received permission from Arnold. This energy, this soul that you now know is the new governor of this land, or to be shortly, has been a woman in most of her past lifetimes. Came into this lifetime as a male, carrying very strong feminine energies. But the male part, the new male part, didn't like this, felt it was weak, felt it was unworthy, felt that the female energies that were so much a part of him now would be laughed at and scorned because of your male society. So what does he do? Pumps iron. Tries to overcome the female energy. Comes with so much strength. But yet there was female energy integrated in all this because he also liked to show his body. He was proud of the physical. He loved the attention of the body. Very interesting dynamics. Now, he moved beyond that. Moved to where he could help people understand some of the things that could have happened on your earth, surely a Hollywood version, but some of the catastrophic things, the battles and the fights, the light and the dark. He also takes on the role of the dark to transform into the light. Dear friends, the answers are so simple. He is now the governor of one of the, most powerful societies in all of the world. Governor of a land with incredible wealth and incredible resources, but a land that had also become burdened in old new energy thinking. So, So the people of that land elect someone who is strong, but they don't see beyond the surface. They don't see the feminine energy that is going to emerge, that is going to come to this place. It is being encouraged by those who he, how to say, brings in around him, the one he is married to. It is a way of bringing in feminine energy under very masculine guise. Watch to see what happens in this area. So, phenomenal events. They all tie together. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or even a metaphysician to figure this one out. There's another event that is coming about in 1 week from now. You've given it the name the harmonic concordance. Oh, dear friends, there is so much more behind this than what meets the eye. Before we discuss this, we want to point out, it is not the event that changes you. You were the ones that created the event. The event, this harmonic concordance, the alignment of certain stars, certain planets, it was going to be there anyway. It was going to happen one way or the other. But, if the consciousness of humanity hadn't been right, you would have missed it. It was a potential that was coming into alignment, but perhaps you might have never seen. Might have had to come back around a long, long time from now. But the consciousness was right, and it was observed, and it is now being embraced by light workers, spiritual beings, even many in the upper echelons of your religious organizations have a bit of an understanding about what is happening. 1 week from today, an interesting alignment takes place. Also at a time of a lunar eclipse, a hiding and then a revealing, a light and then a dark. The harmonic concordance is the alignment of the planets into the Star of David. And particularly in this area that we are sitting in right now, this area of the mountains in Colorado, will be almost a perfect alignment. It will be experienced all over the earth. It is the alignment of the planets to create the perfect Star of David. Star of David is created by two equilateral triangles overlapped onto each other. It is also the symbol of the Merkaba. But what it really is, and what your Merkaba really is, we are often so amused at humans who do all this spinning of the Merkabas. You are digging yourself in deeper and deeper. You don't understand the very simple nature of the symbol and of your own Merkaba. Two equilateral triangles, one on top of the other, to create the Star of David. They represent the essence of duality. One points upwards, one points down, up and down. One triangle energy. It is the phallic energy, the outgoing energy, the action energy. The other, the inverse, is the feminine. It is the grounded energy and the nurturing energy. It is the vessel, yes. It is the vessel. It is the chalice, as so many of you have been reading about. These two energies overlap, male and female. They're up and down. They're also representative of what you would say light and good and bad. And they're representative of divine and human. They've been separated. Don't you see? Separated for a long, long time. The core energy of separation is the male and female energies. The Adam and the Eve. Ever since you left home, you see. Ever since you began exploring self, you've divided yourself. You do it now in physical form, male and female. There's a masculine and a feminine energy, a yin and a yang. That is all the Star of David is, separated, pulled apart. What happens when these two are brought back into alignment together, instead of 6 points, there are 4. Dear friends, stop spinning these mercotic energies in opposite directions. What is going on with this? Do you think you were going to be more powerful or smarter? You're only intensifying the energies of duality. For a moment it may feel good. Isn't that something that came from us? Spin these energies. We have to slap our heads. Have to slap our heads when we see you doing this. Energies were meant to be brought together. And in 7 days from now is the time, is the potential for this to start. For these 2 equilateral triangles to come back together. There's an interesting force or influence in the alignment that takes place. There's one of the elements, one of the planets that is in there that is causing some fear, that's causing some pain and some sadness. Some of you are truly feeling it right now. Is the energy of Chiron, the wounded warrior. The victim, the warrior who has guilt for what he has done. The wounds that are the karma and the remembrance of the past. So the wounded warrior has to come in right now to be part of this Star of David. To say, are you ready to release the wounds? Because that is what keeps the 2 halves from coming back together. That is what is keeping the union of the male and female as a wounded warrior, Chiron. That is what is keeping the separation of heaven and earth, Chiron. The wound is deep. That's part of the reason for the anger also that you've been experiencing. Why the wound? Will the wound ever heal, or must we continue on this cycle again, a cycle that could span tens of thousands of years? The alignment that is coming about, that was going to be there anyway, the alignment is very rare, very rare. There is the eclipse that happens with it, the hiding of the moon energy, hiding the, something that comes between the male and the female. But it's also time of clearing. It is not the event that causes the change. It is you that caused yourselves to see the event, but within it is potent energies and a realization of where you are at right now. At this time of the alignment, it is like a huge billboard in the heavens, showing you where you're at, showing you all of the variables that are involved, showing the separation of male and female, right and wrong, human and heaven. But understand that energy of Chiron is so strong that you may miss the whole point. Energy of Chiron so overwhelming, the wounds so deep, that you may let this opportunity, this event pass, because the wounds are so deep and the sadness. It will bring back the remembrance of where you have been. This will be a very intense week for many of you, a time for deep breathing. It will bring back, whether it is to your intellect or just to your inner feelings, remembrances of a long, long time ago, long before you ever came to earth. Mostly of those times before you ever came to earth. Again, you allowed yourself to be aware of this event. The event brings in potential for change, but it also brings in memories of the past. 8 days from now, significant event. We would say on our level, our way of thinking, more significant than this thing you called the harmonic convergence. That was a potential to awaken. That was a measurement of Earth. But this is an incredible signal, incredible sign saying, are you ready? Are you ready to bring in the male and female into your body, into your reality? Get over the old notions of what you thought male and female were. Are you ready to bring these back and not feel embarrassed about it? Are you ready to say that there was never a light and a dark, that there was never any wrong in any of your journeys up until now, the time when your journey stopped? Are you ready to allow home the energy of the divine and the energy of the human meld? You talk about it, you philosophize about it, but you still don't feel you're worthy. You still feel you're living inside this bottle, that the divine can't come in. This will be a significant event. What should you do on that day? Celebrate. Celebrate the fact that you are even aware that it is here. Celebrate the fact that all of the energies line up now to bring healing back to the Star of David. It was never, ever meant to be pulled apart. It was never meant to spin in opposite directions. It is a whole unit. It is the melding of everything. If there's any spinning that takes place, it is when the triangles are melded back together. You know what happens when you spin this new element? It creates a circle when you spin it. It has 4 points when looked at two-dimensionally, but it creates a circle. The circle that even the astrologers see in this formation is a reminder of completion, a journey completed. Time to go to a new level. Oh yes, and then fear rushes in. Am I worthy? Is this real? Maybe I shouldn't take this step. I remember when I took that step that led me to and through the wall of fire. Maybe I'll let someone else do it first. The fears come in. That's why Raphael is here. So, dear friends, much coming up in this next week. Breathe on that day. Breathe continually. Breathe the breath of Spirit into the wounds that are still there. Chiron had to come back, for it needs healing. It is an aspect. It is part of you. It's still wounded. You were put off somewhere else. You don't like it when Chiron comes around in your charts. Put it off. Try to put it off somewhere else. We try to even hide it behind other planets. But it comes in full force now for the wounds to be healed. For us to move forward, Shambhala, and for you to move forward, allow yourself to be healed. Understand that there never was any wrong. There was only experience. Understand that a spirit can love you so much, and you can love yourself also. Take a deep breath, Shambhala. After this interesting date, even an interesting, not being numerology, but an interesting energetics of the numbers. It is an 11, which from our side of the veil right now we see representing duality. It is an 8, November 8th. The 8 from our side representing a symbol of infinity. There's a 5 when you add together your year numbers. That is year, or a number of change. It's infinity in the center, duality on one side, change on the other. What interesting dynamics. Part of you wants to stay in the old duality, but you realize that it will seem like infinity, an eternity, if you don't move forward, so you have to change. Why do you think we bring in Raphael to help move beyond this? Very interesting numbers in all this, and certainly there are humans who study this in detail. Look in your internet, and you will see all sorts of interesting information. But remember, when you read it, keep it simple. There's a tendency to try to get overly complex about it. Chiron arrives for one simple purpose: healing. Healing the wound. That means you releasing your old energy notions about what that was. At this time of November 8th, and for every day that follows, is a time for the divine plan to meet the human plan. You've kept them separate, much as these two triangles have been separate in the Star of David. You've kept them separate, your divine plan and your human plan. And this also brings an anger. Your divine plan was to go out and experience, create a sense of self-identity, so that someday you could inherit the throne. That was the divine plan. The human plan was simply to survive. Simply to survive here on earth. To have food and shelter and clothing and just get by. Your divine plan was to give you everything that you needed in this lifetime, all the resources, all the tools, give you everything, and it is there. But it wasn't meeting with your human plan. Your human plan, oddly enough, was to give you bare minimum. Bare minimum. You see, it's interesting, because you ask for abundance. Dear Spirit, pay this bill. Give me the money I need. Oh, but when you look at your human plan, it was quite the opposite. Give yourself as little as possible. Learn as quickly as possible on your journey. Oh, you said to us, you said to yourself, I can endure anything. This little stint on earth as a human being, I don't have to have anything. Your human plan was bare necessity. Allow it now to meld with your divine plan, which was grand abundance of every kind. You thought it was the other way around. You thought divinity was holding out on you. Dear friends, it was you holding out on you. Allow your divine plan and your human plan to come together. The divine plan was the grand reintegration of the energies of the masculine and feminine. It has always been part of the plan. The separation took place so that you could truly experience and understand yourself. We are not talking about the male body and the female body. We are talking about the yin and yang energies, the divine and the masculine, both so appropriate. The divine plan was to bring them back together. Your human plan was to make yourself one or the other, to be male or to be female, and to exaggerate whichever one that was, and to feel separate and removed from the other energy. Part of this was so that you could experience what it was like to have this outgoing masculine energy. Part of it was to experience the nurturing and loving feminine energy. But the divine plan and the human plan weren't meeting. It's now time to bring those together. You're at the point of awareness. You're at the point of enlightenment where they can come together now. They don't have to be separate. The divine plan was to come full circle in the understanding of self. You've been given a unique gift by Spirit. It was called self-awareness, your own identity, no longer in the grand oneness of all that is. But you were given the ability to have a unique spiritual fingerprint, all of your own, and to grow that. The human plan was so limited. It was trying to get what you could. It was trying to, at first, to develop your identity of self in this lifetime without regards to the wholeness of all your other lives. But then when you got to a certain point, you came to a level where you said the plan now needs to shift. It needs to be to destroy the self, because it must be the self that is causing you all these problems. Your modern psychology has talked about destroying self, annihilating self. There are those in the world who practice the annihilation of the ego and of the self. in some very brutal terms, we're still picking up the parts and pieces of them on our side of the veil. They're so scattered and the wounds are so deep. The divine plan is self-realization. The human plan that so many of you had is self-annihilation. Can you bring these together and understand the self has served a purpose here? Can you meld the divine and the human plans now? They don't have to be separate. The human plan was for death and sickness and disease. The human plan said that you had to bring these things into your reality to gain new understanding. You had to get sick. You had to get disease to bring you back on your path. You had to have death so that you didn't get trapped or lost here on earth. The divine plan is about life and is about creating. That's all it is, experience. Can you bring these two elements together, the divine and the human now? They don't have to be separate. Can you bridge that gap, cross that chasm, so the divine plan can meet the human plan? Are you at that point, dear Shambhala, where you can bring Star of David back together? The true Star of David, not the one that is depicted in your graphics, where they are separate, perhaps overlapping a bit, but separate. Can you heal the wound of the Star of David to bring them back together now, melding the divine plan and the human plan back together? The human plan called for separation, isolation, called for you to feel alone so many times on your journey. The divine plan, as we've stated over and over again, was never to be alone at all, never to be isolated, always to understand where you came from and why you are on your journey. Can you stop hiding yourselves from yourself and from others? Can you come out now as a divine human to be a teacher, small t, facilitator, host, whatever term you want to call it, but a shining divine human? Can you meld together that plan of the divine and the plan of the human now so that you can come forth, be who you really are? The human plan was to have lessons, lessons and lessons. All that equates to is suffering. It is saying that you don't know enough. It's saying you have to give yourself another kick in the butt, another hit on the head. The divine plan has always simply been about experiencing, but experiencing the joy of life and creativity. You've ignored the divine plan and you've chosen suffering instead through lessons, these things you call lessons. It's not about lessons. It is not about trying to prove anything to spirit. It is about living in the now and experiencing the true gift of who you are, the true gift of life, the true gift of compassion. It's time for the divine plan to meet the human plan. Can we do that in this moment together? Can we allow the healing to take place for the wounds of Chiron the warrior that every one of you have been, not just here on earth, mostly in the other realms? Can you allow for the divine plan to embrace the human plan now? To bridge that gap, to stop the separation between the two. To have complete compassion and honor for each other. Can you make it so that you take down the walls of this bottle that you live in, so that you can feel and know the simple divine plan and have it work together in harmony with your human plan? Can you allow that? Can you allow the healing of the Star of David to take place in this moment? Part of this process of healing, of understanding the wounds. A wound is simply a division. That's all it is. A division, a cut that divides. Part of it is taking responsibility for all of your journey, for everything up to now. But in responsibility comes enlightenment and love and understanding and compassion of why you created what you created. Responsibility is knowing that you did something that you created, but also knowing there was a divine plan in it. You think because of some of the, your perception of destruction and chaos, working with the dark forces, you think that's something to be shameful of. You've carried that wound with you for so long. Some of you here allowed yourself to be enlisted by the dark forces. Your movies depict it so well. You go over to the dark side. You work for them because of your anger. And then you feel guilty about it, and you make yourself suffer. We're talking about events that took place a long, long time ago, in a place far, far away. But dear friends, it was only a breath away. So, you did these things for greater understanding and experience. You did these things so that all things could move forward. All things could expand. You did these things because you loved others. Oh, long before you came to earth, you found what it was like to love another entity. Magnificent. Magnificent. There was the potential, that you could have only loved yourself. Just think of what that would have created. Outside of all that is, outside of the first circle, you learn to love someone else. Another entity. We're not talking about a male, female, or sex thing. We're talking about love. Pure love and pure compassion for another being. A trait that you picked up from Spirit. Spirit has true love and compassion for you. What a day it was back in the kingdom when you learned to love someone outside yourself. But in that love, you also battled others to protect those you loved. In that love, you felt the deepest form of betrayal when they walked out on you. In that love, you felt what it was like to be angry because of something they had done to you. You gave your heart to them. Why did they not give it back to you? In all of this healing, in all of this transformation of energy, it is about taking responsibility. That you created this. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to go back into these past lives and retrace it. You don't need to go running off to facilitators on Monday and have past life sessions. You already know it. It's right there. You don't have to know the details. It's about taking responsibility and loving yourself once again. Taking responsibility for all of your journey. As we have said before, you are either victims or creators. The energy of Chiron is currently a victim. Can you see that in yourself? How you blame incidences and people and angels and events that have happened in the past. There's no need to blame at all. We know what happened. They know what happened. Simply taking responsibility and understanding there were divine reasons. There was a divine plan behind all of it. That is why it took place. Responsibility is such an interesting thing. Even in your practical lives that you live now, it is so important. We are asked over and over again, dear Tobias, what can we do to change the governments of the world? Take responsibility for yourself. The governments are simply manifestations of the group consciousness, whether they are dictators, whether they are corrupt leaders. It is all a manifestation of that populace that reports to them. When you take responsibility for yourself, you will find yourself immediately outside of mass consciousness. You might live in a certain political, social structure, such as a dictatorship, but when you take responsibility for yourself, you're not affected by the dictatorship. You might live in a land of corruption, but when you take responsibility and you understand that you are no longer corrupt, you are divine. Then you can live in that land of corruption, but you don't have to become part of it. Leaders are strictly a reflection of the consciousness of the people. That is all. You like to blame things on your leaders. You like to put fault on them. You like to say, I didn't vote for them. But dear friends, you're responsible as well. They are manifestations of the group consciousness. How do you change the governments of the world? Oh, you can write complex books about new structures and new theories and new systems and new types of socialism or democracies, and it will never do anything. You're just trading one hand for the other. The changes take place when you take responsibility, when you and then others and others and others take responsibility. That is what's going to happen in the new energy if you continue doing your work. You will start a whole chain reaction of I am responsible because I am the creator. You will get out of victimhood. You won't have the governments to blame anymore. You have to understand that you helped to set it up. You won't have the churches to blame. You take responsibility. At some point, when enough people take responsibility for their creations, the need for government as you know it today goes away. What we truly see, and we say this, very straightforward, with not tongue-in-cheek, as more and more humans across Earth take responsibility for their beingness, the need for government goes away. The need for service, for things like your hospitals and your roads and the other things that you need as functioning humans, will be turned over to private enterprises who are managed by a group of people who volunteer, not elected. Interesting. Turning the responsibility for service back to you, to private enterprise. Sounds a bit scary to some of you. But dear friends, when everyone takes responsibility, there is no need anymore to set up this type of very hierarchical and very masculine government energy that you see in almost all the lands of your world. There's only a small group of volunteers who help to manage private industry who performs the service. Government serves you. That's the way it was designed to be, not the other way around. But guess what? You gave up responsibility. You gave up responsibility to them, the servants, so that they grew and grew and grew and grew. You've given over your own beingness to someone else. So indeed, they become a reflection of the corruption, of the tight control, of the disciplined male energy, of the imbalance, and of all of these things. They're a reflection of it. Take responsibility, and you will see government change. Stop trying to write all of these new plans. The core, the simple essence is still about responsibility for yourself. So, a week from today, if formation, the celestial formation, the Star of David. Use this time for the healing within, for those residues that are still in you, for the belief that there has to be duality, for the belief that the divine plan and the human plan don't work together, the belief that human and spirit are two different things. Use this time to bring together the elements of masculine and feminine. These are the most basic forms of divine separation. This is the core. Allow the feminine to come into you if you are masculine. Stop feeling embarrassed about it. Stop feeling that this is going to make you something less than strong. If you are male, breathe the feminine energies in that day. If you are female, allow the male energies to come in. If you're female, allow yourself to heal the wound of Isis. Indeed, she is here today also. She had to come in to counter Rapha. The wound of Isis. So many of you, those who are physically female and intuitively female, understand exactly what I'm talking about. The greatest wound of all. Allow yourself to breathe in the masculine energies back into you. And as you do, allow this archetypical energy of Isis, the mother, the creator, the giver of birth and giver of life. You know how it was abused, grandly abused. That has caused a counter-reaction, particularly in your contemporary society. But it has been going on for a lot longer than just these lifetimes recently on Earth. The male energy that you have allowed to get strong, women, you have allowed it to get strong because you are hiding from who you are and what you have done. The wound of Isis is deep, deeper than the wound of Chiron. You know exactly what we are speaking about here. You've tried to hide it. You've been angry about it. You don't know what to do with it. You've turned over responsibility to the male. It is time for the divine to meet the human. It is time for the man to meet the woman. It is time for you to release Isis. Now. The wound has been deep. But 7 days from now, 7 days from now, we can all heal this thing. It is all of our past. Not just a human thing. It's all of our past. You have brought this event of the healing of the Star of David into consciousness. And now, all of us can do something with it. Remember, the energies of Rapha will be with you. Raphael will be with you to help transmute. The energies of Isis will be there with her tears for the healing. You are not alone 1 week from now or ever. In group, let's say it together. And so it is. And so it is, dear Shambhala, that we have released much energy on this day. Energies that have been very deep, deep within you, very deep within humanity in general, even deep within us. And you've been building up a momentum for quite some time to do this releasing. And with the help of Raphael, to move beyond this, to let it go. This whole concept of the Star of David, of the two triangles separated but yet with some overlap on them, represents one of the very core wounds that is carried. And is also interesting, as some of you have already figured out. It's also interesting that this is the symbol for the children of Israel, for the land where I came from. So could you imagine now, a week from today, can you imagine the potential for healing in this land, for healing of the Jewish race? You know, they have called upon so many others, the Palestinians, the Jordanians, Syrians, all the rest in this area, to help them act out, to help them, go through some of their old ancient karmas from long before any of you ever came to earth. And they put it right there in front of the world to see. The separation, the symbol of separation, the symbol of the wound. They put it there. There's a time for them also to heal. Because of my many lifetimes with this spiritual family of Israel, I will be working in this next week of time to facilitate a healing process. But for those Shambras who are in this land of Israel, and they have the neighbors surrounding that land, it is a time for realization that this can be healed. It's a time to bring back together the Star of David, which originally was the shape of a diamond. 4 points. To bring these back together in this new energy of 4. And it's time to bring this together for all of you here, even in your own lives. To provide the melding of these 2 pieces back together, as we spoke of, the male, female, the light, the dark, the divine, the human, to bring these all back together. One of the things that you will see occurring in your life soon thereafter as a constant reminder of the diamond. Yes, some of you like this very much. Just as you have seen sequences of numbers over these past few years, the 1111, 1212, and all these other numbers, you'll start to see a whole pattern of diamond come in. The diamond, so precious, so clear. The diamond, so strong on its own, but all integrated, all integrated. You'll see this symbol of diamond come to you over and over, whether it is in a sign, in the ad, in little things in your life, a constant reminder of the melding together of all the pieces. This also opens the doorway, a wonderful energetic doorway, for what you would call the clear children, what we like to call the diamond children. They come in integrated. They come in with the union of male and female, with the union of divine and human. You will begin to see this, particularly after next week, if the awarenesses of Shambhala, the awarenesses of humans all over the world, takes this wonderful opportunity. See, you created the opportunity, but now what will you do with it? With that, we would be delighted to answer your questions.
Yes, Tobias. I would like to ask 2 questions again. The first one being, as I told you, I'm on a 7th floor building. I find myself now standing on the roof at full moon, chanting something from my solar plexus in a male voice with my arms up, and I would really like to understand this. Also, I brought up in the last channeling a little autistic boy who has now moved out of our building. And is there any future for me or for this child being in this child's life in any way?
Standing on the roof and barking at the moon? This is, and the chanting that you do, this is your intuitive nature your feminine nature asking the male to rejoin. It was quite simple, especially at the full moon where the energies and the balances of the male and female are so strong. There's all this lore about, the energies of full moons and what it brings out, but it brings out the strongest dance of male and female. So you raise your hands in acceptance. You chant in the male tones, in the male language to allow this into your being. It is wonderful. You are honored for it. Some of your neighbors think you're a bit peculiar, but we understand. As far as your dear friend, you were trying to figure it out. The best thing is to understand that there is a very wonderful natural process. Be open to it, but do not try to figure it out or force it. It is in your life for a reason, this dear one. And even though your paths might separate for a bit of time, there is an energy that was established between the two of you, an energy that was based on a great love, a great trust in each other, and even if the physical is not there, the spirit is. So be open to it, embrace it, and accept it like you are also embracing and accepting your male energy, and within that there is a wonderful clue for you.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Hey, Tobias, how are you? Anything I can do to help out, just let me know. I'm all ears.
You are helping out, all of you. You and all of Shambhala. We get teary on our side of the veil when we look at you, when we see the incredible work you're doing, when we see that you don't yet understand who you are. You won't allow yourself to see who you are. Ones who are the grandest of angels in the universe. Ones who helped create the code of the Order of the Ark, and then put the key in your own pocket and came to earth. All the time thinking, knowing while you were creating the code of the Ark, thinking that there were others that were wanting to come through. But when the time came, you knew the journey would be too difficult. You knew that you would, in a sense, sacrifice yourselves and come to earth. You told the others who truly volunteered, allow us to go first. Allow us to blaze the trail. Allow us to go through the difficulties, the true feelings of separation, not only from spirit, but from spiritual family. All the time, this code of the Ark that was being created, others thought they would be first, but you knew you were going to go first in service to all. So, what are you doing? You are doing something phenomenal for all of the universe, for spirit. And we have to add this point. Dear Shambhala, you already know this, but all of this is going to happen anyway. It truly is. The ascension, which you are already in, the movement into the new energy, the new energy coming into your life, the divine integrating with human, it will all happen. There is no doubt about it. It's not something you have to manipulate or make happen. It's nothing that you have to do specific ceremonies or practices to make it happen. You don't have to force it. It's such a sacred and blessed thing, it wants to come into your life. Sometimes it has to sit in the background, waiting for you to get through all of your human plans so that the divine can come in. Can you meld the human and the divine plan right now so that it just happens? Because it's going to anyway. It's just a matter of how difficult you make it on yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Tobias. My question is, in honor of the now moment, would you speak to us on courage?
I don't have to speak to you on courage at all. The energy in your words alone spoke volumes of courage. Everyone who is listening, who is here, everyone who is reading this, it takes courage to do this. It takes courage to be here. It takes courage to ask a question of courage. There are tremendous angelic energies here on our side that support what you would call courage, which is really truly understanding, which is truly allowing yourself to tap in at the deepest and highest and widest levels about your journey. Sometimes you don't understand why, but you summon up this thing called courage, and it allows you to go to the depths of understanding. Understanding eliminates all the fear. Understanding gives you the strength. Breathing brings all of this in, by the way, as you know. The courage is simply allowing yourself to tap in to the real reason why you are here. Perhaps you won't know the words in your head. Perhaps you won't be able to, construct it so that your mind is satisfied. But there's another part of you that says, I know why I must go on. Now, we've brought up an interesting, dilemma for all of you today. The journey ends here. The journey ends here. No more reason to think that you have to trot off down the road, creating these human planned lessons that you had. No more reason to carry those burdens on your shoulder. The journey ends here. So now what? Now what do you do? We're not going to answer that right now. We want you to absorb this. We want you to feel this over the next 6 weeks of time. We'll return to talk about it, but the journey ends now. Now what? Now what? Interesting discussion for your bulletin board on your website. Thank you for the courage to ask this question, for it was one that so many Shambhala had.
Thank you.
Tobias has said that the 7 seals relate to the 7 chakras. Could you explain more about that? For instance, how does the 5th seal of suffering relate to the 5th chakra, the throat, or does it? Thanks.
We refer to our last show that we did together. Stop trying to figure it out. We know that you want details. We know you want all of these things, these mental things, because they make you feel more comfortable and it gives you a bit more trust. We don't want to get into a large discussion of the chakras because we said a number of years ago, your chakras truly have melded into one. They have joined together again, so there is not the separation. There are still energetic attributes that, are still there, but we want you to bring all this together in unison. We, answered the question in the Shoud about the 7 seals, specifically during the middle of that Shoud. There was a question that came telepathically from someone listening in online that wondered out loud to us, do these relate to the chakras? So we answered, yes, they do, but you don't have to draw maps and diagrams of how all these work together. Allow the seals to be opened so that there are no longer 7 seals. There is now the unity of all these together with the understanding of self, the understanding of the transformation, and the final coming to know that you are God also. Allow your 7 chakras of your body to come together in unison as one chakra. It's one chakra. You segment your body. Once again, you get these little colors and lights spinning inside your body, and we have to shake our heads. We have to slap our foreheads. Yes. Because you don't truly understand why you are spinning chakras. You read it somewhere, and they say, now we're going to spin the 4th chakra. You're just spinning up a lot of stuff within you at the same time. Understand now these are melded into one, that your body becomes male and female, that you become male and female, light and dark. Allow all these to meld together. And you don't have to go into great intellectual understanding. More than anything, the answer will come to you, to your very question. It will come to you, and you'll have an understanding of how all of this worked. It doesn't come through the intellect, but comes through your divine sense. Thank you.
Hi, Tobias. Could you comment on Dr. Eric Pearl's work, the reconnection and reconnective healing and the 12 strands of DNA? Thank you.
Interesting. Indeed, I have to say, the Crimson Council, works closely with this one that you call Dr. Eric Pearl. Such an interesting background he has, such interesting work he has chosen for himself. He has, in essence, come in for a very specific reason, to simplify a divine process. When in previous lifetimes and when he was back on our side here, he saw that there was a need to let go of all of these very tedious ways of facilitating, of allowing a healing process within a healing space. So he came in with something very simple. The challenge for him has been, it is so simple, most people don't believe it's real. They want to have elaborate ceremony. They want to have to study volumes. Healing is so simple. If there is one party who chooses it and another party who helps facilitate the energy, it can happen. There's no longer a miracle. It is new energy medicine happening instantaneously between two people. Now, he also understands that those who practice this technique of reconnection need to understand they are just a facilitator of the process. They have to recognize they are not healers. There are no healers. There are facilitators, and there are those who choose to be healed. But we work very closely with those energies, and we see, these two, the Crimson Circle and the work of Dr. Pearl coming back together again, in the very near time. Thank you. Very effective work also.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Tobias.
Indeed.
My question has to do with the harmonic convergence, in the sense that I have a granddaughter that's going to be 4 on that day, and I can see, I'm awestruck at the fact that her birthday is the same date as this, and am wondering how this is going to affect children of that age, the real young children, and what it does for that child in a family. You spoke of tremendous healing. Is that something the child is going to facilitate within the family? What are the implications of this particular day being on a child's birthday?
The implications of this and the potential of this energy are available to everyone, children, adults, the elderly. It is how they utilize it, is where they are at on their journey, depending how they want to use it. Now, it should be interesting that this dear one you speak of, it is the 4th birthday, which allows this one to set up such tremendous opportunity for themselves to use this potential energy. There's nothing specifically that you need to do here other than to, have joy with this dear one on this day. You don't need to preach or draw diagrams, but to say this is a day to release everything that no longer serves. This is a day to realize that God loves us so dearly, has so much compassion, smiles at everything we do, loves us no matter what. That will set up, a whole sequence of events that will be understood at the inner levels. It is a potential that comes a week from today, and it is up to all the individuals how they choose to use it, how they choose. We already know there are millions worldwide who are aware of the event and at one level or another aware of the potential of the event for transformation. There are some who are kind of off track a bit with the true understanding of the potential. They've been going too intellectual and trying to make this more complex than it really is. It is the healing. It is the bringing back together of the Star of David, the original separation. That's simple. Thank you.
I don't understand why nobody is appearing at my door when so many need help. Doubts are appearing in all areas of my life, and I've lost the point of it all. Never seem to finish what I started, and one relationship is dominating my life. Any insights, please? Thank you.
It's a good time to take a deep breath and understand that at times when nothing is appearing at your front door, it is because things are being transformed on the inside. And it's not appropriate to have the knocking at the front door when you're trying to sleep, if you understand what we're saying. You've given yourself a time here for inner work, and nothing will appear at the front door until you are truly ready. One of the issues you have is your own balance of male and female. You have a dominating relationship. Why have you created that? How do you take responsibility for it? Why is that such an issue for you right now? And how is it keeping others from coming to you for your human and divine guidance? Take a look at these issues and I'd say stop having such anxiety and expectation about what comes to your front door. Even if nothing is there, something is there. Remember that.
Hello, Tobias. I have so many questions. I don't know what to ask, but about people, about everything. So I'll just ask one question on behalf of everyone here and Linda. I just want to know from your perspective how you feel about my experience, and if you could touch on some points that will help me to move through a lot of the stuff I'm dealing with right now, so that I can best serve Shambhala, humanity, and the universe.
Understand that you already are serving, and this is a good point for everyone here. Thank you. You already are serving. And sometimes you wonder what your passion should be. You wonder what you should be doing. You already are doing it. It is interesting that when you come to that point of wondering what your passion is the greatest time for clearing. You see, there are what we would call artificial passions, divine passions, which are real, artificial passions, which are part of the human plan. You already are serving. You already are doing the work. It is a matter of integrating that. It is a matter of slowing down. It is a matter of allowing everything to come to you appropriately without the expectation, as we just talked about. It is a matter of understanding that you don't have to get complex with your energetic techniques. You, and you already know this, obviously know that you have done much, what you would call vibrational work, energy work in the past, in previous lifetimes. You are very adept at it, but now you're struggling with it for several reasons. One is you don't want yourself to get back into some of the old patterns and old ways of doing things. You don't want to use vibrational energy for your work. You're allowing the opportunity to come forth now to do an expansional energy work. And so you have been struggling with some of this. You've been wanting to resort to old techniques, but yet knowing it was not appropriate. So it is about being in the now moment. It is about allowing your next level of passion to come into you, but you have to do it without expectation. You already are in service. All of you are. Can you accept that? And we thank you. And we know you have many questions. And we know you call us up all the time. All the time. And we are more than delighted to work with you. We spend quite a bit of time with you. At night, you have so much curiosity. You are filled with all of these things. But we will remind you of something we've been telling you now for several years. The answer to your own question is already within. And we know you try to sneak around that, getting us to answer. We'll state that for you again. You already have the answers. Allow those to come out. It is much better than any answer I, Tobias, could give. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear Tobias, When I see Yeshua nailed to the cross, I see his last attempt to be heard. I feel that he wanted us to see that death is an illusion and to release our fears. Maybe instead of taking Jesus off the cross, we need to change our emotion attached to it from negative to positive, or a merging of the two. Do you feel we are unable to change our emotions attached to this old energy symbol to reflect the meaning behind Yeshua's last attempt to be heard?
It was actually what he calls the ascension that was his last attempt to be heard, and was not being seen nailed to a cross. That was more of a human plan. His last attempt to be heard was to appear before others after his physical death, to say that death is an illusion, to say that the soul continues on, and to say that suffering is no longer needed on earth. So those were his very last impressions. It was very difficult for any human to look at this crucifix and to see anything that is joyful, anything that is happy, anything that is fulfilling, anything that would cause them to want to continue on their own spiritual path. It is like a large, skull and crossbones standing over the divine symbol, the intersection of the human and the divine, that says anyone who dares cross this will certainly encounter all the wrath of darkness. So we say to focus the attention on the resurrection, which is the completion, but the resurrection saying there is no death, and I will come back. Thank you.
Last question.
I just want to thank you for the clarity that you've brought to us today. And I wanted to ask if you are familiar with a system called the harmonic wave, which has a tendency to use vibrations to clear specific illnesses within the body. And I'm wondering if you see a future for that, or if, exactly what you see about it. I don't know a lot about it.
Indeed. The thing that you refer to here, the harmonic wave, uses old energy vibrations. It is somewhat effective, but the principles need to be brought into the new energy. There are some who are literally trying to recreate these waves and or other waves that use mechanical devices. Now, Shambra, does that even make sense? That you're going to use mechanical vibrational devices for any sort of rebalancing, or magnetic devices, or any of these other things? First of all, they're based in old energy vibration. Secondly, these machines cannot be tuned enough at this time to truly produce the type of waves that are needed. And more than anything, even the ones that are somewhat effective are pale in comparison to the type of work that can be done human to human, using the new energy, even in these techniques of Dr. Pearl's, the reconnective techniques that bring in the grandest of all energies into the facilitation process. So sometimes we know that you get fascinated with techniques and machines and vitamins and all of these other things. Some of them have wonderful capabilities, but understand it pales in comparison to what all of you can do yourself. We are challenging this group, we are challenging Shambra all over the world to move to the next level, to bring in the true potent energies, the divine energies. And when you allow these divine energies to meet with the human, this is where the real transformation can take place. So, with that, dear friends, it has been indeed an interesting day, a wonderful day. We would have all of you, but particularly dear Linda, understand that we would not allow anything to happen to Cauldre, that there is such a web of wonderful type of balancing and protection that comes from you, that comes from us. Sometimes the energies are difficult, but how to say, he recovers quickly. We would not let him, how to say, throw up in front of an audience, for he might find that humiliating. We do honor and respect the human wishes. As much as anything, he is connected to you, dear Linda, and he relies on that connection to help bring him back. So no harm will come with this. Dear friends, in these 6 weeks to follow, until our next gathering, truly allow the human plan and the divine plan to meld together. Be aware within yourself of what your human plan has been, and it's not always what you think. The human plan was to have as little as possible. The human plan was to give yourself only the bare minimum. It was a divine plan that wanted the abundance. So be aware of sometimes even the contradictions, what you would think are contradictions in the various plans. Look at how your own human plan has sculpted your life, and how the divine plan has wanted to come in but not been able to. Understand now, particularly a week from today, was the potential for the reuniting of the energies, for the Star of David to come back together. Understand that it's time also to meld the human plan and the divine. Allow these two plans to be a single plan of the divine human on earth. We love you dearly, and indeed we admire your courage. And so it is.